Chris, it's a really pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. What industrial automation trends are shaping Siemens market today?
Yeah, not just the Siemens market, but I would say in general, no matter what industry we're talking to today, there's a couple big trends. One is data explosion. In the last 2 years alone, 90% of the data has been created. So what typically that means is people are producing a lot of reports and dashboards, but there's almost too much of it. So they don't know what to do with it. So that's number one. Number two would be skill force, the gap in skill force. So specifically in the shop floor, people are having a very difficult time satisfying job needs on the shop floor. The number is significant. It's anywhere from 3 to 5 million, depending on what analysts you listen to, by the year 2030. So that is definitely something that we're continuing to address when it comes to our customers and talking to our customers. And then last, I would talk is, as it relates to technology, is this idea around pilots to production. I think a lot of people are engaging in a lot of POCs and pilots, but none of them are moving towards production. And so again, when we're talking to our customers, those are probably the three main topics we usually wrap our discussions around, is those three areas.
Which sectors are accelerating the fastest in adopting advanced technologies?
I think they're all trying to adopt it as fast as possible, number one, no matter what industry, whether it's aerospace and defense, automotive, if you go to the process industry, pharmaceuticals, food and beverage, I think they're all trying to adopt the technology as fast as possible. What I would tell you that probably the ones that have the most pressure are the ones that there's significant investments happening from the U.S. government. So those would be pharma, as I talk about pharmaceuticals. The EV or battery market, there's extreme pressure there to succeed very quickly. And then the federal business. So with the federal business, there is significant investments around modernization. And clearly, because it's a federal business, even though there's certain things they move slow on, from a technology perspective, they have very aggressive plans to modernize shipyards, to modernize depots, to modernize actual ships. And so there's a huge pressure to do that with the federal government. So those are just a few.
Amazing. And how is Siemens supporting companies in advancing toward smart manufacturing?
With smart manufacturing, first and foremost, the way we're supporting our customers is aligning on a vision. So aligning around definition of smart manufacturing. I think the first thing we'd like to do is we go in and try to understand what their definition of smart manufacturing is. Typically, you might hear about adaptive production, things like adaptive production. You might hear autonomous production, but we really need to understand what that means. And so the first thing we want to do is we have a definition around smart manufacturing, so we want to align those two. And so how do you define smart manufacturing? How do we define smart manufacturing? And then we start getting into a conversation around people, process, and technology as it relates to smart manufacturing. So that's how we're engaging. Smart manufacturing is a pretty big umbrella.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things get thrown underneath it, like I talked about Industry 4.0, lights out, autonomous manufacturing, those kind of things. So that's why it's important that we align to the definition.
Amazing. Which recent Siemens initiatives would you highlight as transformative for the automation market?
So I just came from the keynote. So a couple hours ago, I got an opportunity to listen to our CEO and chairman go through, and clearly the message was AI. I think if you walk around the show, every single booth you're going to go into, you're going to see something that relates to AI. And so every customer that we're engaged in, I talked about data explosion as a trend, as something that's an impact, that's a challenge. What we're engaging with them as it relates to AI is, yes, there's a lot of cool things you can do with AI. They're already doing it in their personal life. I think the question is from an industrial standpoint, where is the right place to start? And what we typically, and they usually want to walk up to a machine and talk to it like it's human. What we try to educate them on quite a bit is it really about the data and the contextualization of the data. So the relationship of all that data explosion I talked about, the different relationships, And then once you have a good grasp on that, and then that's what you feed the model. If you don't do that right, then all these agents and co-pilots and all these things that you have access to won't provide the benefit that you're setting out to achieve. Because it is about the data, it's about the contextualization of the data and how rich that data is and how much data you have that supports those models. And so the way we're spending our time on through this kind of this transformational journey around AI is specifically in that area.
Absolutely. And how are technologies such as AI, digital twins, and edge computing influencing automation solutions?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I talked about AI and talked about data contextualization. The other area I would say we spend a lot of time on is this idea of edge to cloud, and then digital twins. So I'll talk about the keynote again for a minute. What was crystal clear to me, and then what Roland did a fantastic job on, is he brought up many customers throughout the presentation. And to me, the customers are always the greatest proof point. And every single customer, PepsiCo, NVIDIA, that got up there, NVIDIA is a partner and a customer, but every single customer that got up there talked about the importance of a digital twin. And they talked about creating a digital twin in a virtual world before you do anything in a physical world. Now, the reason I bring that up is, yes, we obviously have that capability, and a lot of people profess they have that capability. What we have and nobody else has is the real world. So this is where we get into the hardware aspects of it. When you start talking about operations and you start talking about hardware, you start talking about, that's the place we know. You start talking about OT, what's considered OT, operational technology. Now, what's important is as it relates to AI, if you're going to do certain use cases like visual inspection, you have to have the speed that it takes to achieve what you want, specifically like in an industry like automotive, that allows you that speed. If you try to take everything to the cloud, it won't work. You do a lot of that on the edge. And so we spend a lot of time, so again, educating our customer on what use cases make sense on the edge versus the cloud. You need both. In an ideal world, you have both. And then, depending on the use cases, you can also have a digital twin on the edge, really close to the machine. So you can take some of those simulations and put it close to the machine so they can validate close to the machine to get that speed you need. And or if you need stronger compute power, maybe you do take it to the cloud. So again, I would tell you, yes, AI is a transformative technology, but if you don't take care of these infrastructural needs or wants, then you won't get the value out of it, the long-term value out of it. So that's why it's extremely important that we have these conversations, we spend our time here, and then they can get the benefit of all the things that they usually see, all the flashy, all the nice things that they usually see when they walk through one of these booths, how it actually works. But the infrastructure piece is extremely important.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate. Now here CES 2026 directly from Las Vegas. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.